us over to do a story on Peter.
A story? About me?
Well, according to the information we got, you're a hero.
You remember the squares. 9 little boxes. Faces looking up, down, sideways, smiling like nothing in the world could ever break them apart. A mother. A father. 6 children. And Alice, right in the middle of everything, holding the house together with jokes, meals, and a kind of patience most families only dream about. That was the Brady illusion. Before the house. Before the staircase. Before the orange kitchen. Before the shared bathroom. Before Marcia's hair. Before Jan's jealousy. Before Greg's guitar. Before Peter's changing voice. Before Cindy's curls. Before Bobby trying to prove he was not the baby. Before Alice walked through the room with a one-liner that made every problem feel smaller. There was the grid. And the grid told America something very powerful. Everyone had a place. Everyone had a box. Everyone belonged. That is why the Brady Bunch became more than a sitcom. It became a picture frame for the family America wanted to believe in. But 57 years later, that picture frame feels different. Because the Brady Bunch cast then and now story is not only about who got older. It is not only about who passed away. It is not only about where they are today in 2026. It is about the sad truth behind TV's perfect family. Robert Reed is gone. Florence Henderson is gone. Ann B. Davis is gone. Alan Melvin is gone. But here is the twist that makes this story so strange. All 6 Brady children are still alive. Greg is still here. Marcia is still here. Peter is still here. Jan is still here. Bobby is still here. Cindy is still here. The children survived the house. But the adults who made that house feel safe are gone. And once you know what happened behind the scenes, the Brady grid does not look like a happy family portrait anymore. It looks like 9 little windows, each hiding a different story. This is the Brady Bunch cast then and now 2026. The sad truth behind TV's perfect family, and the story of how one of America's cleanest shows became one of its most complicated memories. Before we walk back into that house, if you grew up with the Brady Bunch, the Andy Griffith Show, Hogan's Heroes, The Waltons, Happy Days, or any classic American TV show from television's golden years, subscribe now. Because this channel is not just about old TV memories, it is about the real lives, behind the shows America never forgot. Now step into the Brady house. But do not look at the staircase first. Look at the boxes. Because the boxes are the secret. Every Brady had one. Mike had the father box. Carol had the mother box. Greg had the oldest boy box. Marcia had the perfect girl box. Peter had the awkward middle boy box. Jan had the overlooked middle girl box. Bobby had the youngest son box. Cindy had the baby girl box. Alice had the helper box. And for years, America loved them inside those boxes. But real people do not fit inside boxes forever. That is where the story begins. Start with Robert Reed. Mike Brady. The architect. The calm father. The man who could stand in the living room, listen to 6 children panic at once, and somehow turn chaos into a lesson before the final commercial break. Mike Brady was steady. He was logical. He was warm enough to comfort the children, but firm enough to guide them. He was the father of a blended family, at a time when American television was still trying to make that idea feel safe. But here is the first hard truth. Robert Reed was not Mike Brady, and in many ways, he suffered inside that box more than anyone. Reed was a serious actor. Trained, disciplined, intelligent, a man who cared about scripts, motivation, logic, character, but the Brady Bunch was not built for realism. It was built for comfort. It was built for simple problems. Simple jokes. Simple lessons, and that drove him crazy. Behind the scenes, Reed fought with creator Sherwood Schwartz over scripts. Not once. Not casually. Repeatedly, he wanted the show to make sense. He wanted the characters to behave like real people. He wanted Mike Brady to have dignity. But the show needed Mike Brady to stand inside a sunny sitcom world where a broken vase, a school crush, a new hairstyle, or a family misunderstanding could carry an entire episode. That tension never really went away. And the most famous example came at the end. The final episode of The Brady Bunch, the one about the hair tonic, aired without Robert Reed. Think about that. The father of TV's perfect family was missing from the final episode of his own family show. The Brady house said everyone belonged, but Mike Brady was not there when the original series said goodbye. That detail alone changes the whole feeling. Because the audience saw a perfect television father. But behind the camera, Robert Reed was an actor trapped between art and paycheck, between pride and a role he could not escape. And his private life had even deeper pain. For years, the world knew him as America's safe TV dad. But he lived in a time when parts of a person's identity had to be hidden, especially in Hollywood. Especially for a man playing the father of a wholesome family sitcom. Robert Reed died in 1992. He was only 59. Too young. His death was connected to cancer, and it was later publicly revealed that he had also been HIV positive. That is the tragedy behind Mike Brady. The man who played a father in a house where everything could be discussed, lived in a world where some truths had to stay behind closed doors. So when you watch Mike Brady now, standing in that living room giving advice, telling the children what honesty means, you see something different. You see an actor who gave America a father, while carrying a life America was not ready to fully understand. Then there was Florence Henderson. Carol Brady, the smile, the voice, the hair, the warmth, the calm mother energy that made the whole house feel polished. Carol Brady was not written as a messy mother. She was almost impossibly composed. She had 6 children in the house, 3 from her side, 3 from Mike's, and somehow, she always looked like she had just stepped into the room from a magazine cover. But Florence Henderson made Carol feel human anyway. She gave her brightness. She gave her patience. She gave her a kind of stage-trained sparkle that made the Brady home glow. For older viewers, Carol Brady became one of television's most recognizable mothers. But the opposite truth is this: Florence Henderson was not simply a TV mom. She was a performer with a long career before and after Brady. Broadway singing, hosting, game shows, reality TV, appearances across decades. She worked constantly. And yet, no matter where she went, people saw Carol. That is the blessing and curse of classic TV. If the role works too well, it never lets go. Henderson also had her own private struggles. She spoke in later years about depression and stage fright, and about seeking help. That matters. Because Carol Brady looked like a woman who had everything under control. But Florence Henderson was a real person, not a permanent smile in a kitchen. That is what makes her final chapter so emotional. In 2016, Florence Henderson died suddenly from heart failure. She was 82. Just days before her death, she had appeared in the audience of Dancing with the Stars, supporting Maureen McCormick. Marcia, her TV daughter. Let that sink in. The woman America knew as Carol Brady was still showing up for one of the Brady kids more than 40 years after the show ended. That is why her death hit fans so hard. It did not feel like only an actress died. It felt like America's TV mother had stood up from the kitchen table and never came back. Then there was Ann B. Davis, Alice Nelson, the housekeeper, the comic relief, the woman who could walk into a scene, say one line, and make the whole family breathe again. Alice was not a Brady by blood, but emotionally, she was the glue. She cooked, she cleaned, she joked, she listened. She stood between the adults and the children, between order and chaos, between sitcom problem and sitcom solution. Every perfect TV family needs someone doing the invisible work. In the Brady Bunch, that person was Alice. And the audience loved her for it. But the opposite truth is this: Ann B. Davis had already won major television awards before the Brady Bunch. She was not just the maid. She was an experienced comedy performer who understood timing at a level most actors never reach. Alice worked because Davis knew exactly how long to wait, exactly when to tilt her head, exactly when to land the joke. After Brady, she eventually chose a much quieter life. Faith, community, less Hollywood noise. That makes her story feel different from the others. Some people chase the spotlight forever. Ann B. Davis seemed to know how to walk away. But her ending was sudden. In 2014, she died at age 88 after a fall caused a subdural hematoma. The woman who had kept the Brady house steady was gone after one ordinary accident. And that is the part that hurts. Classic TV makes life feel planned. Real life turns on one morning. One room. One fall, one phone call. And Alice, the person who always seemed ready with help, could not be helped in time. Then came the Brady kids. And this is where the story becomes powerful. Because unlike many classic TV casts, all 6 Brady children are still alive in 2026. That is rare. That is emotional. That is almost unbelievable after 57 years. But staying alive is not the same as staying untouched. Start with Maureen McCormick. Marcia Brady, the perfect daughter, the popular girl, the one every viewer remembered. Beautiful, confident, desired, the girl whose name became shorthand for being the center of attention. And of course, the line fans still repeat, Marcia, 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 3 words, and a whole character's shadow. But here is the painful truth. Being Marcia Brady was not easy, because when America decides you are perfect as a teenager, it can punish you for becoming human. Maureen McCormick struggled after the show. She later wrote openly about drug addiction, bulimia, depression, and the damage fame did to her life and career. That is what makes her story one of the most important parts of this script. Marcia Brady was the image of teenage perfection. Maureen McCormick became the proof that perfection can be a trap. Imagine growing up with millions of people expecting you to stay sunny, pretty, grateful, and familiar. Imagine walking into rooms where people do not see you. They see Marcia. They see the hair, the smile, the fantasy. And when your real life begins to fall apart, they do not know what to do with it. That was the cruel part. The Brady house taught America that family problems could be solved with honesty. But Maureen's real pain took years. Love, faith, support, and recovery. The beautiful part is, she survived it. She built a long marriage. She became open about her past. She turned the role from a prison into a testimony. That is why Maureen's story hits older viewers hard, because everyone knows someone who looked fine on the outside, while quietly fighting something nobody else could see. Then there was Eve Plumb. Jan Brady. The middle daughter. The one standing between Marcia's shine and Cindy's cuteness. Jan was insecurity with a face. Not because she was weak, but because the show gave her something many families understand. The pain of comparison. If Marcia was the golden girl, Jan was the one asking, what about me? That is why Jan may be more relatable now than she was then. As children, viewers may have laughed at her jealousy. As adults, they understand it. Every family has a Jan. The one who feels unseen. The one tired of being measured against someone else. The one who wants her own room, her own identity, her own moment. Eve Plumb could have been trapped forever by Jan. But she did something different. She pursued acting beyond Brady and became a painter. She built a life that was not only about one role. That matters. Because Jan's whole story was about wanting to be seen as herself. And Eve Plumb spent a lifetime proving she was more than the middle square in the grid. Then there was Barry Williams. Greg Brady, the oldest boy. The hair, the confidence, the guitar, the almost grown teenager trying to act cooler than the house around him. Greg represented the first Brady child moving toward adulthood. He wanted independence, music, girls, a car, a future outside the family room. For young viewers, Greg was cool. For parents, Greg was a warning that the children were growing up. Barry Williams embraced the Brady legacy more openly than almost anyone. He wrote about it, performed, appeared in reunions, stayed connected to fans. But that comes with its own burden. Because when you become America's TV older brother, you live with people remembering your teenage face long after you are no longer that person. Greg Brady never fully left Barry Williams, but Barry found ways to carry him. That is not easy. Some actors run from the role that made them famous. Barry learned how to live beside it. Then there was Christopher Knight. Peter Brady. The middle son. The awkward one. The one whose voice changed. The one who could be funny without trying to be the star. Peter's most famous moments were often about embarrassment. Growing up, changing, not knowing who you are yet. And that is why Peter still works. Because growing up is embarrassing. It was then. It is now. Christopher Knight later left acting for business, including technology and entrepreneurship, before returning to public attention through reality TV. That makes him another survivor. Not because he stayed on screen forever, but because he found a way outside the house. That is one of the hardest things for a child actor to do. To stop being a character and become a person again. Then there was Mike Lookinland. Bobby Brady. The youngest boy. Bobby always seemed to be proving something. Trying to win, trying to matter, trying to catch up. He had the energy of a child who knew everyone older than him had already done something first. Mike Lookinland eventually stepped away from acting. He worked outside Hollywood, including in concrete and decorative concrete work. That may sound ordinary, but in this story, ordinary is powerful. Because sometimes the happiest ending for a child star is not more fame. Sometimes it is a normal life, a quieter life. A life where people do not need you to be Bobby Brady every morning. Then there was Susan Olsen. Cindy Brady, the youngest girl. The curls, the lisp, the innocence, the little sister energy that made the family feel complete. Cindy was the baby of the Brady house. But babies grow up too, and that is always the problem with television. The show wants to preserve a child forever. Life refuses. Susan Olsen moved through different creative paths after Brady, including art, radio, and writing. Like the others, she stayed connected to the Brady legacy, but also had to live beyond it. And that is the real story of the 6 Brady kids. They all survived. But each had to escape the grid in a different way. Greg had to outgrow being the cool, older brother. Marcia had to survive the pressure of perfection. Peter had to become more than awkward adolescence. Jan had to become more than comparison. Bobby had to become more than the youngest boy trying to catch up. Cindy had to become more than the baby of the family. And somehow, all 6 are still here. That is why the Brady story is not only tragic, it is also strangely hopeful. The adults are gone, but the children lived. The boxes are older, but not empty. Still, we cannot forget the others. Alan Melvin. Sam the Butcher. Alice's love interest. A familiar face from many classic shows. Gone in 2008. Robbie Rist. Cousin Oliver. The late edition fans still remember, sometimes unfairly, because his arrival became tied to the show's final stretch. He is still alive, and even that detail says something about television. A child can enter a show for only a short time and spend decades attached to a joke he never created. That is the strange power of classic TV memory. It keeps everyone in place. Even people who barely got time to move. And now we have to talk about the house itself, because the Brady Bunch house may be the most famous ordinary house in American television. The staircase, the living room, the kitchen, the bedrooms, the backyard. That shared bathroom with no toilet. The house felt so familiar that millions of viewers believed they knew it. But it was a set. A construction. A dream of family life built under studio lights. And that is the perfect metaphor. The Brady family looked real, because the set made it feel real. But behind the walls, there were arguments, addictions, private identities, career struggles, typecasting, sudden deaths, grief, and aging. The house was perfect, because the cracks were hidden outside the camera frame. That is not a reason to hate the show. It is a reason to understand it better. The Brady Bunch was never a documentary. It was a wish. A wish that blended families could become whole. A wish that children could fight and still love each other. A wish that parents would always know what to say. A wish that someone like Alice would always be in the kitchen, ready to make the room warm again. But real families know the truth. There is no final commercial break where everything fixes itself. Some arguments last for years. Some parents leave before you are ready. Some children carry pain into adulthood. Some perfect smiles hide battles nobody sees. And sometimes, the house you remember is not the house that really existed. That is why the Brady Bunch still matters, because even though the perfect family was not real, the longing was real. People watched because they wanted that belonging. They wanted a place at the table. They wanted a box in the grid. They wanted to believe someone would notice when they were hurting. They wanted to believe that even Jan would eventually be heard. That even Marcia could be more than perfect. That even Peter could survive embarrassment. That even Bobby could matter. That even Cindy could grow up. That even Alice, the helper, could be loved. That even Mike and Carol, with all their hidden real-life contradictions, could make a family look safe for half an hour. Now look at the roll call. Robert Reed, gone. Florence Henderson, gone. Ann B. Davis, gone. Alan Melvin, gone. But Barry Williams, still here. Maureen McCormick, still here. Christopher Knight, still here. Eve Plumb, still here. Mike Lookinland, still here. Susan Olsen, still here. Robbie Rist, still here. The Brady parents are gone. Alice is gone. Sam is gone. But the children remain. And that is the emotional twist after 57 years. The people who played the kids are now the keepers of the house. They are the living memory. They are the ones who can still tell us what it felt like to stand on that staircase, what it felt like to grow up under that grid, what it felt like to be loved by millions, and still have to become themselves. So the next time you see the Brady Squares, do not just see a happy opening. See the trap, see the gift, see the promise, see the pressure. See Robert Reed trying to bring dignity to a show he often fought. See Florence Henderson smiling through a role that followed her forever. See Ann B. Davis turning background labor into comedy gold. See Maureen McCormick carrying the weight of perfection. See Eve Plumb quietly proving she was more than Jan. See Barry Williams learning to live with Greg. See Christopher Knight walking into a different future. See Mike Lookinland choosing ordinary life. See Susan Olsen growing beyond the curls. And see the strange miracle that all 6 Brady children are still here, after so much time. That is why this story hurts. Not because the Brady Bunch was fake, but because part of us wanted it to be true. We wanted the house, we wanted the staircase, we wanted the parents, we wanted Alice in the kitchen, we wanted the grid to stay full forever. But television can only preserve images. It cannot stop time. It cannot keep Robert Reed alive. It cannot bring Florence Henderson back to the audience. It cannot undo Maureen McCormick's lost years. It cannot make Ann B. Davis walk through that kitchen door again. It cannot keep childhood from ending. But it can do one thing. It can let us visit. For 25 minutes, the house opens again. The kids run down the stairs. Alice makes a joke. Carol smiles. Mike gives advice. Marcia shines. Jan worries. Greg acts cool. Peter stumbles. Bobby tries. Cindy looks up at everyone, and for one small moment, the boxes fill again. Drop a comment. Which Brady Bunch cast member's story hit you the hardest? Was it Robert Reed, the serious actor trapped inside America's perfect TV father? Florence Henderson, the TV mother who kept showing up for her Brady children until the end? Ann B. Davis, the woman who made Alice the heart of the house? Maureen McCormick, the perfect Marcia who survived Private Darkness? Eve Plumb, the Jan who quietly became more than the middle child? Or all 6 Brady kids, still alive in 2026, carrying the memory of a house America never stopped visiting? And if you grew up with the Brady Bunch, the Andy Griffith Show, the Waltons, Hogan's Heroes, Happy Days, or any classic American TV show from television's golden years, subscribe, because the next Cast Then and Now story goes even deeper into the stars America loved and the real lives fame could not protect. Be honest. When you see those 9 Brady Squares now, do you still see TV's perfect family? Or do you finally see the cracks inside every box?